Hello everybody. In the system engineering, we briefly touched upon the various sys levels, sys 1, sys 2, sys 3. And in the sys 1, we clearly mentioned that sys 1 means requirements elicitation. So it is at this level that OEM always shares the item definition or the item requirements to the tier 1. Okay. Now, I have prepared or accumulated some requirements elicitation process for three functionalities. One is adaptive cruise control, and the remaining two also I will share with you. So I'll give you an example. What are all the exact requirements that a OEM may share with tier 1? I use the word may or might because there is no hard and fast rule. It depends on how comfortable a OEM is sharing its confidential requirements to the tier 1. Sometimes it may share in in-depth, sometimes it may share a surface level kind of requirements. But all these things are clearly mentioned in this particular example I am giving. Let me show you what are the adaptive cruise control requirements that a OEM, it may be a Mercedes-Benz or a Volkswagen or a BMW, that they might provide to tier 1 supplier during requirements elicitation phase. Okay, this is just an example. What might be the requirements? What might be the technical requirements? Okay, okay. First and foremost thing, it's the functional requirements that the OEM may share with the tier 1 for adaptive cruise control. The system shall maintain a set speed of 30 km per hour, a set speed between 30 km per hour and 180 km per hour. Okay, so there has to be a lower speed limit and also higher speed limit. All right, so the lower speed limit is 30 km per hour or 18.6 miles per hour, and 180 km per hour, 112 mile per hour. And below 30 km per hour, the system shall switch to stop and go functionality. Stop and go functionality is also a part of the ADAS feature, ADAS ACC feature. All right. Now next, it clearly shows the distance control. The system shall allow the driver to select the following three distance settings: short, medium, long. This is something which I showed in the adaptive cruise control video. Okay, so depending on the OEM requirement, sometimes they may even have four settings, but usually three settings should suffice. And the time gap shall be adjustable between 1 second and 2.5 seconds. So what is this time gap? The time gap between the vehicle coming to stop and our own vehicle adjusting the velocity. All right. So it depends on the OEM convenience. They shall inform the tier 1. Now this is the time gap. Next is target vehicle detection. The system shall detect and track the vehicles with its forward range of up to 150 meters. Now this is where the long range radar comes into picture. The OEM will inform the tier 1 that we must be capable of detecting vehicles up to 150 meters ahead of us or in the forward range of us. And the radar camera fusion shall classify vehicles, trucks, motorcycles up to 95% accuracy. Okay, ideally it should be 100% accuracy, but OEMs always give a small leverage or a small leeway to the tier 1 that it must be able to classify the vehicle up to 95% accuracy. Next is automatic braking and acceleration. The system shall apply smooth deceleration when approach a slower vehicle. The system shall provide comfortable acceleration when the road ahead clears. Now, what is this up to 0.3 G? Up to 0.3 into 9.8 meter per second square. And comfortable acceleration 0.2 into 9.8 meter per second square. So this is the braking, deceleration or acceleration value that tier 1 company is informed by the OEM. Now, what about the other cut-in scenarios? Cut-in and cut-out scenarios. The system shall detect and react to cut-in vehicles within zero point 0.5 seconds. So this is the time interval which the OEM is going to communicate to the tier 1. and the system shall smoothly adjust the speed when vehicle changes the lane. Now this is important. It should smoothly adjust. It must not adjust in a jerky manner, or it must not adjust in a haphazard manner. So this vehicle changes lane must happen smoothly. This is one of the important requirement of OEM. Now, what are the performance requirements? Just now we saw functional requirements, now performance requirements. The performance requirement is response time. The system shall react to sudden deceleration of lead vehicles within 300 milliseconds. Okay, so the vehicle which is ahead of us, suddenly it slams brakes and it suddenly comes to a hard stop. Then you should be able to react within 300 milliseconds, and the system shall maintain set speed plus or minus 2 km per hour on a flat terrain. So this is the deviation. Suppose you have set the speed at 100 km per hour, then the cruising should take care that it should always be between 102 km per hour and 98 km per hour on a flat terrain. Now, flat terrain means any highway, any decent highway. Okay. Next is minimum operational conditions. The system shall function in rain, fog, and low light condition. Now, this should be very clearly communicated by the OEM to Tier 1, because the Tier 1 should never be given a chance to find any loophole. Okay, so clearly OEM will communicate that it should rain, whether it is raining or foggy or low light conditions, depending upon the country. For example, in a country like India where it seldom snows, then well, there's no point in adding the snow. But when a country like Germany, where it snows during the winter season, then snow also can be included. Now, what is the safety and fail operational requirements? System availability. The system shall provide driver alerts if sensor blockage is detected. Okay, so if at all any sensor is blocked, so in the sensor like a radio, radar or camera is blocked, then the driver should be intimated about it. Driver should be informed about it. The system shall gracefully degrade if a failure occurs. Switch to a conventional cruise control. What is the meaning of gracefully degrade? This word is very important. These words are very carefully chosen. It should be gracefully. It should not come to some kind of a jerky halt or some kind of wobbling or some kind of small kind of jumping. Nothing should happen. It should gracefully degrade. And driver monitoring and takeover requests. If the driver does not respond to takeover request within 5 seconds, the system shall initiate a controlled deceleration. In case of radar camera failure, the system shall disable ACC and notify the driver. Okay, now this is what I already mentioned. There should be some kind of fail-safe operating mechanism. This is also given by OEM to the Tier 1. All these various requirements I am mentioning here, they are the part of the requirements elicitation. Now let's see in the perspective of driver interaction and HMI. HMI stands for human machine interface. The display information. The system shall display set speed, detected vehicle and following distance on the instrument cluster. Okay, it should be clearly displayed. It should be displayed in such a way that font is clearly visible to you. There's no point displaying, the driver cannot read it. If it is too miniature size, then there's no point. So display must be very clear and legible. Visual and audible alerts shall be provided for emergency braking situations. Visual and audible alerts shall be provided for emergency braking situations. Now, this is very important. Okay, sometimes while the vehicle is in adaptive cruise control, suddenly automatic emergency braking also can come into picture. During that time, visual and audible alerts must be clearly provided. I clearly explained in automatic emergency braking video how visual, audible, haptic, tactile alerts are provided to the driver. Driver override. Okay, and there should be a facility that driver should be able to override ACC at any given time. This is important. Now see, driver can have any reason. So suddenly he may feel that adaptive cruise control is very boring, or he is not enjoying the drive. There are many driving freaks who say that they love driving the car. So after a certain time of adaptive cruise control, the driver may want to get back to the control of the vehicle by driving the car himself. Okay, so he must be in a position to override this adaptive cruise control, thereby taking the control of the vehicle. Next is environmental and regulatory compliance. What are the various standards that need to be fulfilled? First is it should comply with ISO 15622, ISO 15622, ACC performance standard, and UNR 79 regulations. These two regulations must be met. Now, this regulations I'll explain very clearly. But as of now, you just think that this is equivalent to emission standards for a IC engine. For ADAS functionality, these standards are just like emission standards for IC engine, and the system shall meet Euro NCAP, G NCAP requirements for driver assistance systems. Okay. Next is EMC and durability. What is EMC? Electromagnetic compatibility. The system shall operate correctly under ISO 11452-2 and ISO 16750 conditions. So both EMC immunity and environmental conditions must be clearly compliant. All right. Next is integration and interface requirements. The vehicle network communication. The system shall communicate via CAN FD automotive Ethernet with other ECUs. See, this is very important. What exactly is the communication protocol the OEM is choosing? Whether it wants to select the CAN FD or whether it wants to select the automotive Ethernet, depending upon the cost, depending upon the speed at which the vehicle is operating, the speed of the data, the payload of the data, the OEM can select whichever communication protocol they want. But the common requirement is it should be communicatable through either of these communication protocols. The system shall support OTA updates for software improvements. Over the air updates. Now I'll be explaining over the air updates clearly. Over the air updates is nothing but downloading a software directly from the satellite. Instead of going to the service station, any software update can directly happen from the satellite without the vehicle going to any service center. Okay, now I'm just putting it in a very concise manner. I'll explain to you over there update in a very clear-cut manner. Sensor fusion requirements. The system shall use radar plus camera fusion with data refresh rate of 20 Hz. 20 Hz. Now this is the minimum requirement, minimum frequency at which the radar and camera fusion will occur. Okay, so camera and radar fusion must occur at a refresh rate greater than 20 Hz. Customization and band specific features. Now driving style adjustments. Now some OEMs they may request a sport or comfort mode, or they can add their own catchy names. It can be economy mode or a sporty mode or a turbo mode or a rocket mode, depending upon the OEM nomenclature and the OEM jargon. They can request their own comfort modes, and it should be customizable to whichever mode the OEM wants to embed in their vehicle. Some luxury OEMs may require predictive adaptive cruise control, and these requirements ensure that Tier 1 supplier DevOps ACC system that meets the OEM's safety and that meets the OEM safety, performance, and brand specific expectations. This is extremely important. Okay, all these requirements are there to ensure that adaptive cruise control system meets the OEM's safety is important, performance is important, and brand specific expectation is also important, because these brand specific expectations are actual USPs, actual unique selling points. These are what actually a vehicle manufacturer advertises in the TV, that my car has a turbo mode or a comfort mode or a uphill mode or a off highway mode. All these things are advertised by the OEM. So meeting a brand specific expectations is of paramount importance. Next is the functional safety and cyber security requirements. These are not exactly customer requirements. These are majorly a kind of a legal compliance requirements. Okay, so this is where the verification comes into picture. I clearly explained to you what's the difference between verification and validation. This functional safety and cyber security requirements come at the bracket of verification. Functional safety requirements ISO 26262 compliance. First is the safety goal and the ASIL. Nowadays, every OEM wants every functionality to minimum achieve ASIL B or higher, depending upon the OEM risk assessment. But as long as it is meeting the ASIL B requirement, it is considered to be reasonably safe. So this adaptive cruise control system shall achieve ASIL B for core functions. What are the core functions? Like automatic braking. Next is the emergency braking assist function. If a part of the ACC shall meet ASIL C due to higher criticality. Now, emergency braking function comes into picture when there is some criticality, right? That is common sense. If a vehicle functionality suddenly activates the emergency braking assist function, it means that there is some higher level of criticality. So naturally, from ASIL B, it escalates to ASIL C. All right, these are the safety goals. And next is fault detection and reaction. The system shall detect the sensor malfunctions within 100 milliseconds and notify the driver. If a brake system fault is detected, the adaptive cruise control shall disable automatically and alert the driver. The system shall perform a self-start at startup and continuously monitor for runtime errors. Fail-safe and fail operator behavior. Now, I hope I didn't. You understand why I did not further elaborate on fault detection and reaction. They are very self-explanatory. I clearly even mentioned the time interval. Now, let's see the fail-safe and fail operational behavior. In case of loss of sensor input, now this is very important because all sensor said and done, sensor is a mechanical item. So there's a good chance it may fail. It may be due to some collision. Suppose there is a collision and the radar got deformed, or because of some collision, sensor connections got deformed. So during that time, there should be a visual and audible warning to the driver that such and such a sensor is not working, and you should gradually disengage. Now, this is something which I already touched upon. You should gracefully degrade, and that's exactly what this gradually disengage also means. And the vehicle electronic stability control intervenes. Adaptive cruise control shall temporarily deactivate. Suppose the vehicle rapidly skids while it is cruising, while the ACC is active, suddenly the vehicle skids and electronic stability control, it intervenes and it takes over the vehicle control. Then this electronic stability control becomes very important, and during that time adaptive cruise control becomes temporarily deactive. This is a functional safety requirement. Now, another safety requirement like plausibility checks, watchdom tiger, safety documentation, all these things are extremely important. What is this plausibility check? The system shall cross validate radar and camera data to detect false positives and negatives. Okay, so along with the regular job radar and camera, they always have a clear cut monitoring about false positive and negative. It also, if conflicting data is detected, the system shall default to a more conservative action like a limp mode or a slowdown. All right, this is a very important safety mechanism. And the tier 1 shall also provide HARA report, fault tree analysis, DMEA, safety cause proving compliance with ISO 26262. This documentation is very important. So this documentation is expected from tier 1 by the OEM. Okay, when OEM clearly explains all the requirements, it is the responsibility of the tier 1 to submit the HARA report, to submit the fault tree analysis, to submit the DFMEA analysis, and also the safety test case proving the compliance with ISO 26262. Because these various HARA report, FTA and DFMEA are the input for the ASIL. All right, so this documentation is extremely important. Next comes secure and communication authentication. Sorry, next comes the cyber security requirements. Cyber security requirements ISO SAE 21434 UN R155 compliance. All right. So what is the first cyber security requirement? Security, communication and authentication. All external communication, whether OTA updates, shall use TLS 1.2, 1.3 or AES 128.5256 encryption. To be very honest with you, this encryption is beyond the scope of my knowledge also. But you just note down that this TLS 1.2, 1.3 is a type of encryption which makes sure that it cannot be easily hacked. Okay, so this encryption is required while external communication. When you are communicating with VOTA or V2X, this communication protocol is very important. The system shall authenticate EC to ECU communication via secure onboard messaging. Example MAC, HMAC. Now these are the secure onboard messaging procedures. Okay, so within the EC to EC communication also, these communication or data may get hacked. So that's the reason this security is also required. Next is intrusion detection and prevention. The system shall detect and log unauthorized access attempts. Example, CAN buff spoofing. Suppose anybody is trying to unauthorizedly attempt to hack into your vehicle or to get some unauthorized access into the vehicle, then unauthorized attempt shall be logged in. And if cyber security attack is detected, the system shall limit functionality and notify the driver via the instrument cluster. Okay. Now secure boot and firmware integrity. The ECC ECU shall implement secure boot with cryptographic signature verification. All right, this cryptographic signature verification is very important. Okay, so this is what exactly secures the boot, and any authorized firmware modification shall prevent the system from operating. So the firmware, the actual how to say, the glue between the hardware and the software, the middleware firmware, if anybody tries to modify, then it will prevent the system from operating. This is a important cyber security requirement. Now, last but not the least, access control and least privilege. It very clearly gives a diagnostic access, and diagnostic access OBD2 or unified diagnostic system shall require authentication. Nobody, because diagnosis is one important way or easy way to get into the interior of the vehicle. So diagnostic access requires authentication. Nobody can access in a diagnostic access diagnostic without proper authentication. Only authorized service dealer shall be able to update ACC calibration parameters. This is very important. Understand this carefully. Only authorized service centers. Now, data privacy and GDPR compliance. If the ACC system logs driving data, it shall anonymize data before transmission and allow the driver to opt out of data collection where legally required. See, it is not required necessary that all the data which is being run on the vehicle be logged in. If the driver wants, he can have the choice to how to say, erase the data. He can it is his choice to opt out of data collection. So the vehicle should have, or the tier one should ensure that data collection facility or opting out of data collection facility is provided. All right, so it is strictly the driver's choice. Next is cyber security documentation. The tier one shall provide threat analysis and risk assessment, cyber security case, penetration test reports from accredited labs. So this clear documentation should be provided by the tier one to the OEM. So when the requirement elicitation is happening, that OEM will clearly demand these documents from the tier one. Okay, and understand this. This penetration test reports must come from accredited labs. There are some accredited labs which clearly ensure that penetration test reports are performed as per the standards. And these requirements ensure that adaptive cruise control system is not only functional but also safe and resilient against cyber threats, aligning with the modern automotive standards. So these are all the requirements. Now you may get one doubt. In the SIS1 level itself, is it mandatory to include FUSA and cyber security requirements? Well, there is a slight debate actually. Based on my knowledge, there is a slight debate that these requirements can be added in tier 1 or in SIS1 or SIS2 level. But many experts believe that including in SIS1 itself is more advantageous, because earlier you know the requirements, the better you can formulate the requirements, the better you can formulate the or further bifurcate the requirements. There are some people who opine that these cyber security requirements can go into SIS2 level also, because in the SIS1 level it better keep it to strictly functional and technical requirements. But I personally believe that better accommodate these FUSA requirements and cyber security requirements at the SIS1 level itself. Okay, and these SIS1 level requirements can further be bifurcated or further be cascaded into the SIS2 level requirements. Okay, so hope all of you got a decent idea about the requirement elicitation for adaptive cruise control. Now let me touch upon the requirement elicitation for another couple of ADAS functionalities. Thank you.